The storm had been raging for hours. Rain lashed against the cracked windows of Daniel's tiny wooden house, and the wind howled through the gaps in the old door. Inside, Daniel sat on the worn-out couch, his 8-year-old daughter Lily curled up next to him, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. The power had gone out an hour ago, and the only light came from a flickering candle on the kitchen table. It had been a long day of odd jobs, fixing a neighbor's fence, unloading crates at the small-town store, and Daniel's muscles ached. But the hardest part wasn't the work. It was knowing that no matter how hard he worked, it was never quite enough. Rent was due in a week, and the pantry held little more than a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter. Then came the knock. It was so sudden, so loud against the storm, that Lily sat up straight, startled. "Daddy," she whispered. Daniel's brows furrowed. Nobody came to visit this late, not out here, where houses were miles apart. He got up cautiously, the floorboards creaking under his boots, and opened the door. There stood a girl, maybe 19, maybe 20, drenched from head to toe, hair plastered to her face, shivering violently. She wore expensive-looking clothes, though they were now muddy and soaked. Her eyes, wide with fear, darted around before landing on him. "Please," she said, her voice barely audible over the storm. "Can I just stay inside for a bit? Just for tonight?" Daniel hesitated. Every instinct told him to be careful, a strange girl, in the middle of nowhere, at night. But then he saw the way her lips trembled, the way she hugged her own arms as if she'd collapse at any second. He opened the door wider. "Come in." Lily peeked from behind the couch, her big brown eyes curious. The girl stepped inside, dripping water onto the floor, and Daniel handed her an old towel. "I'm Daniel," he said cautiously. "This is my daughter, Lily." The girl hesitated before answering. "I'm Anna." Anna didn't explain much at first. She just sat near the candle, rubbing her hands together for warmth. Daniel gave her a mug of lukewarm tea and let her sit in silence. When Lily went to bed, he finally asked, "You running from something?" Anna's eyes flickered, just for a second, before she looked away. "I just needed to get away. I didn't know where else to go. I can leave if it's a problem." Daniel shook his head. "You can stay. But just for tonight. Storm's too rough." That night, Daniel barely slept. There was something about Anna, her fine clothes, the way she flinched when he asked questions, the sadness that lingered in her eyes, that made him wonder who she really was. Morning came with clear skies. The storm had passed, but the air still smelled of wet earth. Anna offered to help Daniel make breakfast, just scrambled eggs and toast, and he noticed how she struggled with the simplest things, like cracking eggs or slicing bread. "You don't cook much, do you?" Daniel teased lightly. Anna gave a sheepish smile. "Not really. I usually have someone do it for me." That made Daniel raise an eyebrow. "Someone? Like a chef?" Anna just shrugged, clearly uncomfortable. After breakfast, Daniel grabbed his tools. He had a small roofing job to finish for a neighbor and no time to waste. He was surprised when Anna asked, "Can I come?" "You want to come to work," he said, half laughing. She nodded. "I don't want to just sit here all day." "Please." Daniel agreed, and soon they were both walking down the muddy road to old Mr. Jenkins' house. Anna struggled at first, climbing the ladder, holding tools, keeping her balance, but she didn't complain. Daniel noticed how determined she was, how she refused to quit even when her hands got blistered. "You're full of surprises," he said as they worked. Anna smiled faintly. "You have no idea." By the time they returned home that evening, Lily was waiting with a drawing she had made, the three of them standing under a big, sunny sky. Anna stared at it for a long moment, her eyes glistening. "You drew me too?" "Of course," Lily said matter-of-factly. "You're part of today." Something about that simple sentence seemed to break something in Anna. She excused herself and went to the porch, sitting alone for a while. Daniel followed, sitting next to her quietly. Finally, Anna spoke. "You're probably wondering why I'm here." Daniel nodded. Anna took a deep breath. "My dad is, well, He's very wealthy. Very powerful. But he's also controlling. I couldn't take it anymore, the pressure, the rules, the constant fights. So I left. I didn't plan to end up here, but maybe I was supposed to. Daniel was silent for a moment, then said, "Money doesn't always make life easier, huh?" Anna let out a small, sad laugh. You have no idea. Over the next few days, Anna stayed longer than she'd planned. She helped Daniel with his odd jobs, learned to cook simple meals, and even read bedtime stories to Lily. But not everything was easy. Daniel's landlord stopped by one afternoon, demanding payment. "You're 2 weeks behind, Daniel," he warned. "I can't keep waiting." Daniel promised to pay, but Anna could see the worry in his eyes. That night, she overheard him counting crumpled bills at the table, clearly short of what he needed. Just as Daniel was preparing to send Anna back to her world, thinking it was time for her to go home, 2 black SUVs pulled up outside the house. Anna froze. "It's them," she whispered. Daniel frowned. "Who's them?" Before she could answer, a tall man in a suit stepped out, calling, "Miss Anna. Your father's been worried sick." Anna's face paled. "Anna," Daniel said gently, "maybe it's time you talk to him." Anna shook her head. "You don't understand. He won't listen. He never listens." The man approached the house, but Anna stood her ground. "I'm not going back unless he agrees to let me live my own life," she shouted. Daniel watched, impressed by her courage. The man sighed. "At least let me take you to him. He just wants to know you're safe." Anna turned to Daniel, torn. "What should I do?" Daniel looked at Lily, then back at Anna. "Sometimes running isn't the answer. Maybe this is your chance to make him hear you." Anna nodded slowly. And with that, she stepped toward the SUV. The ride to the city was quiet. Anna sat in the back seat, her fingers twisting nervously in her lap. Daniel and Lily had stayed behind. Daniel didn't want to leave his daughter, but he had told Anna, "Go. Do this for yourself." When the SUV pulled up to the mansion gates, Anna felt a familiar knot tighten in her stomach. The house was massive, lit like a palace, but it didn't feel like home. Inside, her father was waiting. He was a tall man in his 50s, sharply dressed, his expression unreadable. "Anna," he said simply. "Dad," she replied, just as simply. For a moment, they just stood there, staring at each other. Then he stepped forward and hugged her tightly. "I thought I'd lost you," he said quietly. Anna's breath caught in her throat. "I needed to get away, Dad. I couldn't breathe here anymore." Her father pulled back, frowning. "You could have called. Do you know what it's been like, not knowing if you were safe?" Anna hesitated, then said firmly, "Do you know what it's like to feel like you don't have a say in your own life? I didn't run away to hurt you. I ran away because I needed you to see me." Her father was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed and sat down. "Maybe I haven't been listening as much as I should." Anna's heart pounded. This was the conversation she'd always wanted and feared to have. "I want to go to college, Dad," she said softly. "Not just the one you picked. I want to choose for myself. And I want you to trust me." Her father nodded slowly. "Maybe it's time I did." The next morning, Anna surprised Daniel by showing up at his house, this time in a simple sweater and jeans, without the bodyguards or the fancy car. "You came back," Daniel said, surprised. "I had to thank you," Anna said with a small smile. "For everything. For letting me stay when you didn't have to, for not treating me like I was some problem to fix." Daniel shrugged. "You needed help. I had a roof. It was simple." "It wasn't simple to me," Anna said. She pulled out an envelope and handed it to him. Daniel frowned and opened it. Inside was a check enough to cover his rent for months, maybe even a year. "I can't take this," Daniel said quickly, pushing it back toward her. "It's not charity," Anna said. "It's gratitude. You gave me a safe place when you didn't have much yourself. Let me do this." Daniel hesitated, then nodded slowly. All right. But only because you asked. Lily ran out of the house, squealing with joy. Anna! Anna crouched down and hugged her. I'm going back to school soon, but I'll visit. Promise. Weeks passed, and life slowly returned to normal, except it wasn't quite the same. Daniel caught himself smiling more often. The check had given him some breathing room, but more than that, Anna's visit had reminded him of something he'd almost forgotten, that kindness mattered, that helping someone even when you had little could change lives. Anna wrote letters from college, sometimes including photos. In one, she stood on campus grinning, her hair pulled back, looking freer than she ever had before. One chilly autumn evening, Daniel and Lily sat on the porch, sipping cocoa as the sun set. Daddy, Lily asked, do you think we'll see Anna again? Daniel smiled softly. I think so. People like Anna don't just disappear from your life. They show up when you least expect it. As if on cue, a car pulled into the driveway, a modest sedan this time, not an SUV. Anna stepped out, waving. Miss me? Lily squealed and ran to hug her. Daniel just shook his head, smiling. I told you, he said quietly. That night, the three of them sat around the table, laughing and sharing stories. For once, there was no storm outside, no fear of tomorrow, just the warmth of chosen family. Anna raised her glass of juice. To the night everything changed, she said with a grin. Daniel clinked his glass with hers. And to letting strangers in when they need it most. Lily added, and to be brave. They all laughed. And as the moon rose high over the little wooden house, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, hope. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change two lives at once. Daniel opened his door to a stranger, never imagining she would become part of his family's story. And Anna, the millionaire's daughter, learned that true freedom isn't about running away, it's about finding where you truly belong.